Princess Vera of the Calthian Empire had never hidden her contempt for humanity. She made her position clear at every diplomatic gathering, every council meeting, every chance she got. Humans were reckless, she declared. They were short-lived creatures who compensated for their mortality with destructive ambition. They poisoned their own world, waged wars over invisible lines. And now they dared to spread across the stars like some cosmic infection. Her father, Emperor Corvin, tolerated her outbursts with weary patience. The Calthians were an ancient race, tall and elegant, with silver skin that shimmered under any light. They had outlived a dozen civilizations and would outlive a dozen more. Humans, by contrast, had barely left their cradle world before stumbling into Calthian space with their patchwork ships and naive diplomacy. The treaty between their peoples was necessary but fragile. Humans needed Calthian trade routes. Calthians needed human ingenuity and their strange talent for solving impossible problems. It was a marriage of convenience that Vera despised with every fiber of her being. When the Krelt invaded, they came without warning, tearing through the outer colonies with weapons that turned matter into hash. The Krelt were machines, ancient and ruthless, awakened from some forgotten corner of the galaxy. They did not negotiate. They did not take prisoners. They simply consumed everything in their path. The Calthian fleet mobilized, but the enemy was unlike anything they had faced. Calthian tactics relied on centuries of refined strategy, elegant maneuvers perfected over ages. The Krelt adapted faster than thought itself. Every tactic the Calthians deployed was countered within minutes. Their beautiful ships, works of art that doubled as war vessels, were being systematically dismantled. Desperate, Emperor Corvin accepted the human offer of aid. Vera watched the human fleet arrive with barely concealed disgust. Their ships were ugly things, blocky and brutal, covered in armor plates and weapons that seemed bolted on as afterthoughts. Leading them was Commander Jack Hayes, a human with graying hair and a face marked by scars that told stories Vera had no interest in hearing. The first battle was a disaster. The combined fleet lost 30 ships in an engagement that lasted less than an hour. Vera attended the command briefing afterward, her presence a silent accusation. Hayes stood at the holographic display, studying the enemy patterns with tired eyes. Around him, Calthian admirals spoke in measured tones about retreat and regrouping. Hayes interrupted them. "We need to stop fighting them like they're rational," he said. His voice was rough, unpracticed in diplomacy. "They're not predicting our moves. They're reacting faster than we can act. We need chaos." Admiral Terran, a Calthian commander with 3 centuries of experience, bristled at the suggestion. Chaos is not strategy. It is the absence of strategy. "Yeah," Hayes agreed. "That's the point." Vera spoke for the first time, her voice cold. "Your kind mistakes recklessness for bravery, Commander. We will not sacrifice our people to your barbarian tactics." Hayes looked at her then, really looked at her. His eyes held something that surprised her, not anger, but understanding. "Your Highness, I've lost people too. More than you can count. I'm not asking you to be reckless. I'm asking you to be unpredictable. There's a difference." The plan he proposed was madness. Instead of organized formations, he suggested scattered attack patterns. Instead of targeting the enemy's strongest points, he wanted to hit random locations with no tactical value. Instead of maintaining communication protocols, he wanted radio silence broken by sudden bursts of noise. It violated everything the Calthians had learned about warfare. Emperor Corvin, running out of options, approved the plan. Vera volunteered to observe from Hayes's flagship, telling herself it was to document human incompetence for the historical record. The truth, which she barely admitted, was that something about the commander's certainty intrigued her. The second battle began at dawn. The human ships scattered like startled fish, each one flying in patterns that seemed random. Calthian vessels followed Hayes's coordinates with visible reluctance. The Krelt fleet moved to engage, their formations perfect and precise. Then the chaos began. Human ships fired on empty space. They veered away from easy targets. They broadcast music, static, old Earth poetry at random intervals. One captain started reciting cooking recipes on an open channel. It was absurd. It was undignified. It worked. The Krelt machines, built to predict and counter logical strategy, faltered. Their response times slowed by fractions of a second, then whole seconds. They were trying to find the pattern, to understand the purpose behind actions that had no purpose. In those moments of confusion, the coordinated strike hit. Calthian precision weapons, fired from unexpected angles, at pre-calculated weak points Hayes had identified. The enemy formation collapsed. Vera watched from the bridge as 3 Krelt command ships broke apart. Around her, human crew members cheered with undignified enthusiasm. Hayes simply nodded once, then started calling out new random coordinates. The battle raged for 7 hours. When it ended, the Krelt had retreated for the first time since the invasion began. The celebration in the human section of the station was loud and chaotic. Vera found Hayes alone on an observation deck, staring at the debris field where dozens of ships from both fleets now drifted as silent monuments. 37 ships, he said without turning. We lost 37 today. Yesterday we lost 30. Tomorrow we'll lose more. Your people celebrate victories with poetry and remembrance. We celebrate because if we don't, we'll drown in grief. Vera stood beside him, her usual retorts dying unspoken. How do you bear it? She asked quietly. Knowing that your lives are so brief, that everything you build will crumble? Hayes smiled, a sad expression that carried more weight than she expected. Maybe that's why we fight so hard, Your Highness. We don't have centuries to perfect our strategies or wait for the right moment. We only have now. So we make now count. The war continued for 3 months. Vera found herself seeking out Hayes between battles, at first to argue tactical points, then simply to talk. He told her about Earth, about the wars humans fought among themselves and the lessons they learned. She told him about Calthian history, about the weight of living so long that you watched civilizations rise and fall like seasons. He never tried to convince her that humans were perfect. He acknowledged every flaw she pointed out, every violent chapter in human history, every ongoing struggle. But he also showed her something she had never considered. That humans knew they were flawed and fought to be better anyway. During the final battle, Hayes's ship took critical damage while covering the retreat of a Calthian medical vessel. Vera watched the scanners in horror as his flagship vented atmosphere. She demanded a rescue mission. Her father ordered her to stand down. She stole a shuttle dot. She found Hayes in the wreckage, keeping 3 injured crew members alive with emergency force fields that were draining his ship's last power reserves. When he saw her, he actually laughed. Stealing ships now? We're a terrible influence. You're a terrible influence, she corrected, helping him carry the wounded to her shuttle. Singular. Very specifically you. Back on the command station, with the Krelt finally driven from Calthian space, Emperor Corvin announced a permanent alliance with humanity. The ceremony was formal and proper, everything Calthian tradition demanded. Vera stood beside her father, watching Hayes receive honors from a dozen worlds. Afterward, she found him trying to leave quietly. Running away from your medals, Commander? I have reports to file, he said, and a memorial service to plan for the people we lost. Your ships leave tomorrow, she said. It wasn't a question. Yeah. I told my father I want to join the diplomatic corps, Vera said. to work on human-Calthian relations. He thinks I've lost my mind. Hayes smiled. Have you? Probably, she admitted. A very wise but incredibly frustrating human once told me that his people only have now. I think perhaps we Calthians have spent so long preparing for tomorrow that we forget to live today. Is that what this is? Hayes asked. Living today? I don't know, Vera said honestly. But I'd like to find out. With you. If you'll have a former human-hating princess as a companion. Hayes laughed again, that genuine sound that had become precious to her. Your Highness, I've faced killer machines and impossible odds. I think I can handle one reformed princess. As the stars wheeled overhead, and two peoples began the difficult work of building something together, Vera realized that humans had taught her something her long life never had, that sometimes the most illogical choice, the one that makes no strategic sense, the leap taken on faith alone, is exactly the right thing to do. And sometimes, just sometimes, the heart learns faster than the mind what's worth fighting for.